What's up, everybody? You are listening to Come On Man, a 3% Man podcast. I'm your host, Paul Bauer, and I am on the road to being a 3% man just like you. If you're new to the show, this is a podcast for fellow students of Corey Wayne's book, How to Be a 3% Man, and for men who just want to be better in general. We talk about dating, gaining wealth, being happy, and using the law of attraction to get everything we want in life. Welcome back, everybody. I know you're thinking, this is weird. Why is there an episode on Wednesday? That's because this is a special bonus episode, everybody. In fact, I was so excited about this episode, like I couldn't wait to publish it. A guy I've been following on YouTube for well over a year now, Dave Perrotta. You might have seen him on How to Beast. How to Beast, has a pretty big following on YouTube. Well, Dave Perrotta is a good friend of his, and Dave has a pretty good following of his own. And Dave Perrotta also has written several books. And the guy's really smart. I talk about him all the time on the podcast. If you ever hear me talk about Dave Perrotta's confirm method, this is the guy. Well, I connected with him on TikTok, and it just so happened to coincide with a new book that he just published called The Lifestyle Blueprint: How to Talk to Women, Build Your Social Circle, and Grow Your Wealth. It's an outstanding book. I'm a little over halfway done with it. And, I wrote down all sorts of notes because I knew Dave was going to be coming on the podcast to talk about it. So Dave's coming on, and I'm going to bring you that conversation right after these words. But before I bring you Dave, I just want to remind you guys to go ahead and subscribe, hit those notifications. If you're on YouTube, if you're, listening on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star review. It helps more than you know. And otherwise, definitely subscribe on your favorite podcast platform of choice. All right, without further ado, I'm going to bring you that conversation with Dave right after these words. All right, this week, actually, it's a special episode. We have Dave Perrotta of YouTube fame. Some of you may know him as the homie Dave from How to Beast, author of several books, his latest being The Lifestyle Blueprint, which is a must read. It's really outstanding, Dave. What's going on, man?
I appreciate you reading the book, man. And I'm doing well. Just down there hanging out in Mexico City. Good to talk.
That's, so I've been following you for a long time, which I pinged you on TikTok about it in the DMs. But so I was always wondering, how does he end up in Mexico City? Did he grow up there? What's going on? And you spell it all out in the book, which I was like, oh, that's how he did it. That's why he's there.
Yeah, man. No, I've been traveling the world, I guess, since 2014, because I really embraced that whole idea of, really living my ideal lifestyle. And for me, that was being able to live anywhere and kind of just go where the tide takes me. And the tide kind of took me through Colombia, Asia, Europe, and I kind of just wound up in Mexico City. And I realized that was the best spot for me at this point in time. But that's the beauty of being able to live intentionally. You can just kind of ride that wave and see how it goes.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I really found that fascinating in the book. And we're going to talk about lifestyle and obviously the book a little bit more in a minute. But so the reason why I originally found you was, you talk a lot about approaching women, how to talk to women and stuff like that. Last year was sort of I call it my year of enlightenment, where I was just I got married young. So all the stuff you talk about in the book is younger man stuff, I think. So I missed out on all that shit because I got married when I was 20, like an idiot.
Oh, man. Yeah, you needed that book, bro.
I did. Yeah. Where was that when I was 19 or whatever? So I missed out on all that stuff. After that, I got into another long-term relationship that ended after 4.5 years. And I just was like, what am I doing wrong with these women? So last year was really my year of enlightenment. I really started diving into this stuff. And that's how I discovered you and David from How to Beast. You guys were probably the first guys I really discovered on YouTube. And so I was just curious, after spending this whole last year just just devouring books and studying people's approaches, people's philosophies, their game, all that stuff. I know, and you mentioned in the book a little bit too, that you joined a group of guys in Boston to learn this stuff, but have you ever like read any books or followed any other guys in this space? Or did you just learn this all on your own with your boys in Boston?
I mean, I think I had an interest in it back when I was in like as early as high school, man. I remember in like junior year when I was working a summer job, I convinced my dad to get me some David D'Angelo tapes. Like, remember those cocky, I don't know if you ever know about who he is, but he was way back in the day. He used to run a thing called Double Your Dating. And
Yes.
I remember listening to some of those tapes while I was working on my summer job. And it kind of started planting the seed of like, oh, like maybe something is possible here, but it still kind of felt weird. Like it was just sort of this weird thing, like, oh, I'm going to go try to pick up girls. But once I started, once I hit 21 and started going out to Boston, that's when things really picked up. And before it was sort of theory going in my head, that's when I really started to apply the stuff that, I kind of had learned. And then obviously going out and just started sort of carving out my own experiences and learning from those as well. So that's kind of how it went down. But before that, like I watched a little bit of RSD back in the day as well. But yeah, I guess that's how it went down.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I've seen a few of your recent TikToks too, where you tell guys like, look, some of these guys are just spewing out theory, but you actually have to go out and practice this stuff. I couldn't agree more. Because this podcast, I don't know if you're familiar with Corey Wayne. A lot of it is born from, Corey Wayne's book really is what sort of spawned this podcast. And he talks about reading his book like 10 to 15 times. And what I tell people is you can read that book 1,000 times, but if you're not going out there and trying the stuff out and seeing what works for you, it makes no difference.
Yeah, no, if you're sitting around theorizing like, oh, like if I try to use this pickup technique, then maybe it's going to work. It's like, man, you got to just go out there. Like I get guys commenting all the time on my TikToks, on my YouTube, like, no, man, you can't approach a girl like that because of like X reasons. Like, bro, there's no chance you've even gone out there and even tried it. So like, you shouldn't even be talking here, man. Right. Like if you're a guy going out taking action, you're not being a YouTube hater or a TikTok hater. It's just not how it's going down. So you need to go out there and take action. You should be maybe like 20, 30% reading, and taking in knowledge and like 70, 80% action. Otherwise, you're just going to get lost in the sauce of just all this information.
Yeah, I agree. I like how in the book you refer to those guys as jamokes.
yeah, man. I mean, if you really boil it down, man, most people are just jamokes. And when I say jamoke, I mean, you're basically just like a cog who doesn't know how to think for himself. Right. If you look around the world, most guys are like that. You see a microcosm of it in like the nightclub environment. Most guys are just a jamoke standing in the corner, having drinks, never going to talking to the girls unless you're super drunk. Then you see it in business environments, most people being unreliable, not going for what they want. And it just kind of pervades everything, right? Like most people don't think for themselves.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And when I'm reading reading your stuff in the book, you're talking about the jamokes, you're talking about guys that make excuses. It just really resonated with me because I know so many people like that. They just give me 1,000 reasons why they can't do something. Yeah, I see it all the time in the TikTok videos. Like, well, yeah, but like, how do you get dates? Like, no one can get dates these days. I'm like, well, bullshit. Like, if I can get dates, anybody can. Like, come on.
Oh, exactly. And like, yeah, you see it a lot on TikTok. I've been doing TikTok more so over the past month, and you see a lot of these young guys come on and they're like, oh, like it's not abundant in my area. I can't go out and experience abundance. Or like, no, this won't work for me. It's like, come on, bro. Like, have you tried it? Like, you're just coming on making excuses saying you can't do it. Like I've seen guys in your exact shoes go out there and make it happen. So what's stopping you besides just basically being a bitch? I mean, yeah, what's really going on here?
Yeah, I did a video, man, maybe a month ago, because I took my daughter for her birthday to Denver because I live out in the middle of nowhere, and which we can get to in a little bit because you talk about guys who say that they live in a small town and it's just it's an excuse to move out. So we'll talk about that. But I went to Denver, and whenever I go to Denver or a big city, like my dating apps just start blowing up because there's just options everywhere. And so I did a video where I just scrolled through like all these chicks that were showing up in my beeline on Bumble. And I was like, guys, if you're in a big city, you have zero excuses. Look at this. I was like, I live in a town with significantly less options, and I still go on consistent dates. Like, what's your excuse? There's no excuse for this. So
No, exactly. Yeah. No,
it's sad. So one thing I want to talk about is what I found interesting in the book was you went to college like most of us, right? Like you went to college, became an accounting major, and obviously you talk about in the book, and I want people to definitely go and check out your book because it's really good. But just in your words, like on video here and on the podcast, how does one go from accounting to copywriting? Because that's what you ended up doing, right? That's what got you into your current lifestyle.
Well, yeah, man. I think when I was in college, like towards studying accounting, so it was somewhere around my junior year, where I started kind of having this inkling of, you know what, I don't know if I really want to do this, but I don't know what else I'm going to do. So I guess I need to just go and complete my degree and see what happens. But I had like sort of this feeling that something wasn't right. And after college, like I mentioned in the book, how like my mom got sick and stuff, and I started like really questioning my life and what I was doing. It was like, man, like life is pretty short. Why am I just going to be an accountant if that's not really what I want to do here? And those sort like that sort of questioning, kind of like listening to my intuition, led me to kind of getting into like more online business type of stuff. And picking up girls is a big part of that too, because it made me realize what else is possible, and showed me that I can get better at something if I really put my mind to it. And I think that's why, picking up girls is powerful if you can build that skill. But yeah, man. I mean, I basically just like analyzed a bunch of different potential skill sets in online business, like the ones I mentioned in the book. And for me, I thought copywriting was the best one because I always enjoyed writing. I'm out here writing books and stuff now. I enjoyed it. I knew that there was ways to make money with it. And it seemed like it was sort of the bedrock of a lot of different businesses. So I just taught myself it over the period of probably like 4 to 5 months, and started getting gigs online. And it really isn't that hard to learn. And a lot of people have kind of followed in my footsteps and done that.
Got it. Fascinating. So, like, do you like just put out jobs like on Fiverr and stuff like that? Is that like, what
you can do like outreach, man. Like you can go do like cold outreach. Like you can, like, there's a bunch of job boards on Facebook. Like, dude, there's one called the Cult of Copy job board. I got like one of my first copywriting gigs there for like paid me $4,000 a month. And that was like, to me at the time, that was game changing money, because I was like, now I'm going to be able to save money. I'm going to be able to work with like an 8-figure supplement company. I'm going to learn all this stuff. And it was all online. So it was such a game changer for me, but it all just came from like one application when I didn't even have that much experience, but I had passion, and I was a reliable guy. And like those two things were big things that helped me to land that.
Yeah, definitely. Is that just take a step back too, going back to college? What's your impression of college now? Because when I was a kid, my parents used to beat it into me, you're not going to be anything in life unless you have a bachelor's degree. And so I was like a robot. I went out into the military, got out of the military, and I was like, I've got to go to college and get a bachelor's degree, or I'm not going to be anything. But now I've changed my mindset on it, having gone to college and out in the workforce. I know guys, I work in IT, and I know guys that do just as well as I do without any college degree. They just went out and got certification and stuff like that. So do you still like believe in, that college is probably somewhat something necessary, or do you have a different take on it now?
I mean, to be honest, man, I think college is a total scam. Unless you're going to go to college to be a doctor, like to be an accountant, or to be like an engineer, like be one of those professions where you really need that degree or you can't get into it. There's very few reasons to go to college, because what's going to happen is you're going to rack up a bunch of debt. You're going to collect a bunch of basically useless knowledge, and you're going to come out expecting to get a good job where a lot of these jobs are already taken, or like you're going to have a shitty salary. It's not a good thing anymore like it used to be back in like the 70s, 80s, like when my parents were growing up. And that's why your parents are always telling you go to college, because that's what worked for them. Does not work now though, especially now. Like I taught myself copywriting in 6 months, and I've been able to use that bedrock skill to live around the world for the past 7 years and make more money than I would have if I was an accountant. So like, if you can do that with no degree, and no one ever asked me for a resume even one time. So if I can do that, like there's ways to get around and be successful without a degree. I think the degree is kind of old hat at this point. Like it's getting washed up, and I think in 20 years, it might not even be around anymore. Like at least in the same way that it is now.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That's what I teach my kids that now. I say, well, go to college if the profession you want to do requires it, but otherwise
don't just hop into college because it's what you're supposed to do, right? Like that's what, the whole thing in the lifestyle blueprint is. Like, you have to think for yourself. If you just do what everyone tells you to do, you're going to screw yourself. And it's really hard to do that when you're 18 and all your friends are going to college. So you really have to be intentional and say, you know what, maybe this isn't right for me right now. I'm going to do something else, and I'm going to be okay with looking stupid. That's what it comes down to.
Well, one thing too, speaking of the lifestyle blueprint, one thing that I never thought of before until I heard you say it when you first mentioned that you had a new book coming out, and when you say it in the book, is that the whole idea of thinking about what do you want to be when you grow up, or what do I want to do for a living when you get a little bit older, it's the wrong way of thinking about things. You said you should think of it from what kind of lifestyle do I want to have and work back from there. I thought that was genius. I'm going to teach my kids that.
Well, yeah, if you do it that way, then you give yourself a whole ton more freedom, right? Because a lot of times, let's say, oh, like I want to be a doctor. And then you go to school to be a doctor for 10 years. You come out, you're a doctor. All of a sudden you're working 70, 80 hours a week. And you're like, oh shit, maybe like I'm not really enjoying this, but you've gone too far. And now it's hard to get out, right? Versus if you start at like 17, 18, and even, if you're a guy in your early 20s, take this mindset of, all right, what type of lifestyle do I want to live? How can I work backwards and get there? Because what you do for a living can change and should change and evolve over time. Like, I've gone from being a copywriter to a dating coach, to a lifestyle coach, to an author. Now I'm getting into real estate investing. I'm getting all these different things. There's not one thing that I just do, right? And that's how I like it. I like to have sort of a flux and flow with who I am versus just like, oh, I'm an accountant. That's what I do. And I have to fit all my entire life into that.
Yeah. And in studying, I study a lot of investing and, books on, millionaires and billionaires and mindsets and stuff like that. And that's probably one of the number one things that most successful like millionaires and stuff have in common too, is they don't have all their eggs in one basket. They have multiple streams of income, and that gives them the flexibility to have that kind of lifestyle.
Well, yeah, I mean, once you get to the point you start figuring out how to make more money, then it's like, all right, how could I make my money make money? And then that's when things like real estate, stocks, crypto, all that stuff starts coming into play. And you realize like, oh shoot, all of a sudden, like my money is growing almost as fast as I'm making it when you start choosing the right investments, right? And sure, that's not always the case, but especially if you're in like a bull market and stuff like that, like shit can really grow fast and be pretty crazy. But yeah, you always want to be smart with the investments that you're making, but it is fun to make your money grow for you.
Yeah, definitely. That is really fun. Like when I first started getting into investing, understanding the stock market, understanding different investment vehicles, there's like you said, you're in real estate. A lot of people are really big into cryptocurrency. Are you big into crypto? Do you do crypto?
I've been in crypto since 2017, man. So I have a lot of friends. We were kind of on like the leading edge of it.
Okay.
Like in 2017, because I have a lot of friends who were like working in the crypto space or were, like coders, programmers, like dudes who knew about it. And, a lot of the online business world, these guys I was living with in Europe, Vietnam and stuff, they knew about it early on. And they were talking about it. I was like, I need to start, dip my toe into here, see what's going on. So yeah. I've had an interest in it, and I definitely think it's going to be a big thing going forward. But, I'm also conscious of like, hey, this investment that I have there could go to zero, and I got to be okay with that. So I make sure to afford what, I can't afford to lose, invest what I can't afford to lose.
Sure. I'm not a personal fan of it just because it's so volatile. I like real estate. I feel like, there's some ebbs and flows, but you could tolerate that a little bit more. Same with the stock market. Gold, silver, but
the way I look at crypto though, man, this is obviously like a side tangent, but the way, like the chances are it's going to have some type of, hold on the future, whether it becomes like, the next gold or whatever it may be, it's going to be some type of piece of the future. So you might as well learn how it works now so that you don't kind of get left behind. Cause you don't want to be like that guy, the old guy with his head in the clouds. Like, oh, I don't know how this technology works. Like you always want to be on the cusp of what's going on. Just in case too, right?
Sure. No, I agree with that. And I absolutely believe in blockchain technology, which is separate from like cryptocurrency investing. The blockchain technology has so many like applications, not just in, the transmission of digital currency, but I mean, in data storage, secure data storage, stuff like that, it definitely has a future. But as far as like trading, it's almost like Forex at this point, but it's just a little more volatile.
I just buy and hold, man. I just buy and hold, leave it, get some interest on it with like BlockFi, and I just like I'm not out here. Like I learned my lesson in 2017. I'm not trying to like make all these crazy trades.
Sure.
I'm in it for the long term. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. That's how I invest in the stock market. I'm more of like a index fund guy because
that's solid too.
Yeah, because I don't want to sit there and have to analyze individual stocks and then do day trading and stuff because I'm not a day trader. So like, you know, I'll just buy and hold, and that works.
No, and that accounts for a lot of guys being jamokes too, because most people are going to panic sell when the market goes down. Like we're in a dip right now. I'm sure a lot of people are panic selling, right? But if you're just thinking for yourself, all right, I'm just holding for the long term, you're going to benefit while most other people are losing because they're pulling out and doing all these different or making bad trades, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then when it's down, like now it's good time to buy. I mean, it's a discount.
Yeah, for sure.
So, so I want to go back to copywriting. You ended up moving to Vietnam. What was that like?
Vietnam was a culture shock, man. Like for the first 3 weeks, like it was the first time I'd ever lived outside the US, even like really outside of college, like lived outside my parents' house for more than like a few months. And I got there, man. I had one buddy from Boston and he was showing me around and stuff, but man, it was so different at first. I went to a KFC there like 3 times in the first week. It was around the corner. It was the only American thing I could find. It's like, I need some type of like American salvation here. But once I kind of settled in after a few weeks, it was a lot of fun. Like, you know, like living in Southeast Asia, there's a lot of ridiculous parts to it. Like the language is crazy. The languages are crazy between like Thailand, Vietnam, all these different things. And like the cultures are so different, but it's a lot of fun too, though, because it's living outside the U.S. too. There's just such like a freeing aspect to it. There's a feeling of like being able to do whatever you want, and like there are no rules almost. And there were so many entrepreneurs out there at the time in Ho Chi Minh City, in aka Saigon, that like I'd hit up a cafe, I'd see like a 7-figure entrepreneur just hanging out, you know, have a chat with them, having a smoothie or something. I'd see guys at the gym. I'd see guys walking around. We'd all go to dinner. It was just like such a crazy environment of like growth that, and we're kind of building something similar to that in Mexico City now. But it was so crazy then. It was just like, it was perfect. The perfect place for me to come as like a budding entrepreneur. Got
it. Yeah. It sounded pretty interesting in the book, but I was shocked by that. I was like, Vietnam, like who goes to Vietnam for copywriting? But I was like, okay, cool.
No, man. Like I was working for like a guy who's an American, right? But I was like all these entrepreneurs, they were like Americans, Europeans. And I would like meet guys at the coffee shop and be like, yo, bro, what are you working on? And they'd be like, oh, I'm working on an email sequence. Oh, I might be able to help with that, man. And boom, I get like a 3K gig right there. And it was just shit like that would kind of serendipitously happen because I was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, it was a good place for networking, it sounds like.
Great, man. It was crazy. I'm friends with a lot of those guys to this day and traveled around the world with a lot of them too. It's been insane.
Awesome. And then after Vietnam, you moved back to Boston. That's where you met David from How to Beast, right?
Yeah, man. I was still broke when I got back from like I hadn't like made it or in like whatever you want to call it. Like when I was in Vietnam, I just like kind of worked on my copywriting shops and was making progress. But when I came back to Boston, I was still kind of broke. And Dave, How to Beast, like he invited me to live with him in his little 1-bedroom apartment. And like I took the bedroom, he took the living room, put his bed in there, and his bedroom was like the living room / his bedroom. And dude, we used to have 2 girls over at a time, and just like it was hilarious dating scenarios there.
Yeah.
You know, but back when we were going hard in like Tinder and in the club hard and all that type of stuff. So we had a lot of fun, man. But we were just 2 broke guys trying to figure it out.
Yeah, well, you guys have definitely figured it out. I watch you guys' videos all the time, and I'm just like, man, those guys, like they seem like they had it figured out such a young age. I wish I knew this stuff when I was their age. I'm just like sitting here taking notes.
The thing is, we didn't have any idea what we were doing. We were just kind of like throwing shit against the wall, hoping something would stick. Like we started a podcast too back in the day. We called it The Beastly Gentleman. This was back in like 2015. And we ended up giving that up after like a year, but you know, we had some big guests on there and stuff, but we ended up giving that up. And then, he got into YouTube, and then like a year later, he's like, man, you got to get into YouTube. He started growing quick. And that's how I eventually started my channel. But yeah, we've been helping each other out a lot over the years. And now me and him run a coaching program together. So, we do a lot of work together on like a daily basis as well.
Yeah, I actually remember I think I watched the episode of How to Beast where he first said that, hey, me and Dave are getting together and we're going to start a coaching program and we're looking for like, I don't know, 5 to 10 guys. How's that been working out for you guys?
Yeah, it's good, man. I mean, we've done like 3 rounds of it now. We're going to keep expanding it, and we're about to grow it out a lot more in the coming months here. But we've done 3 rounds of it, guys. We've had like 3 guys get engaged from it. We've had tons of guys come in and get lots of dates. Guys just crushing on all different types. We've got to start businesses, all this type of stuff, and it's just good because we have we have different perspectives, so it helps to kind of give guys different types of advice based on what they're dealing with, different stuff like that. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, man. Plus he's my boy, so it's always fun to kind of grow out of business with one of your buddies who you get along a lot in terms of like philosophical and just terms of like business type of stuff. So we don't really have too many disagreements there.
Got it. He's in Austin now, is that right?
He moved over to Houston, so
he's in Houston. Okay.
A mini mansion up there in Houston. So it's good for me because whenever I go up there, I have my own bedroom. I can stay up at his crib now, so it's nice.
Do you drive up there or do you fly in?
Oh no, man, I fly. It's you don't want to be driving through like the north of Mexico on those highways, man. Who knows what's gonna go down up there? But yeah, it's like a 2.5 hour flight, so it's easy.
Oh, got it. Okay, I was just curious about that. As I'm reading your book, I'm like sitting there writing these notes down. And one of the things that I thought was, I actually like belted out laughing just because I just thought this was a great idea. And I was like, this is amazing. I don't see myself doing this, but under your refining your habits section, you have a thing about freestyle rapping. What's that about? Like, I mean, it obviously breaks you out of your shell, gets you probably really good at, speaking because you have to be quick on your feet to be able to rhyme stuff. But like, where did you get into that?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the idea, right? So like back when me and Beast were living together, we used to just freestyle all the time, like in the house, just, we'd finish each other's bars and just go at it. And like, I've been rapping for years, like even back in college, I used to perform and stuff. We made a few, me and Beast made that hilarious music videos. That was ridiculous. We've done, we've enjoyed just doing rap. We do funny freestyles at the end of videos and stuff. And we started having our students do it, right? Because the main reason is that it helps you to not judge yourself. So it releases kind of self-judgment because you look like an idiot, especially when you're starting out. It also makes you to think more quickly on your feet because you're thinking about rhymes quick, which helps you in your conversations with girls because you're able to be more witty. You're able to come up with things more quickly. So if you go up, you don't necessarily know what you're going to say next, but you can come up with it quickly because you're used to freestyling. Even if it's just 5 minutes a day, like you're flexing that muscle in your head. And yeah, man, there's actually been like studies behind it too. I can't like cite them off the top of my head, but there's been studies that have shown that it helps you to be quicker, it helps you to be wittier, and then it develops like new parts of your brain. So yeah, we love it, man. We have all our students do it.
Can you give us a quick little taste?
I haven't been freestyling that much anymore, man. Put me on the spot here.
Okay. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I mean, if you could do it,
I could. We might save one we can save one for the end of the episode.
Okay, start thinking of something. So I'm in I think I'm like up to the section now where like you're talking about meeting women, and you have a section on meeting women during the day. You have a section on meeting, women at night. And then I wrote down your formula here, and this was under the meeting during the day section, but I feel like this could be used in any situation, really. I mean, even if guys are online dating, they could use this. So it's conversation starter, the bridge, light banter flirting, 1 or 2 open-ended questions, and then close. You want to expand on that a little bit more, or?
Well, yeah, man. So a lot of times guys, when they try to picture how they're going to have a conversation with a girl, especially during the day, they're just like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm going to run out of things to say. So one of the things that we found helpful is to just give guys a very simple structure that they can just follow. Just like a quick 3-4 point structure that they can be like, all right, I know like pretty much what I'm going to say here. And I can live with that, and I can go up and start this conversation. So maybe the conversation starter might be like, hey, thought you were cute, wanted to say hi, or maybe something situational. Like, if you're at the grocery store, you could point out the Cookie Crisp and say, you can never go wrong with that. Right. Like that's an example. And then for like, the bridge, maybe you just ask like, oh, like, what are you up to? Right. And then you kind of get a sense of how long she has to talk. And maybe for the banter, you make an assumption about where she's from, which is always, it's just easy pickings. It's an easy one because either she's going to be from there or not. So you can just make a guess about it. And then closing and just going for the number, seeing if she wants to hang out sometime. So just having those like basic 4 steps, what you basically have to do, like, all right, I just asked her, what are you up to now? Let me just make an assumption. And then, all right, we did this. We're talking for a minute. Let me go for the close. It makes it just easy for guys, like very digestible, right?
Yeah, very. I thought it was just boom, 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 very step-by-step, genius. One thing, so I think one of the
You don't need to do anything crazy.
No, you don't have to have stupid pickup lines. You don't need any of that shit. When I was reading that though, I was looking at it from my point of view, because I get almost all my dates just on dating apps, because like I said, I'm in the middle of nowhere. But so dating apps is pretty much, the go-to. But this is sort of basically what I do on a dating app. And I did a TikTok where I told men, to stop texting so much, basically just banter back and forth, maybe about 10 minutes worth total, and then ask them when they're free to get together, and then have a plan in mind, and then say, meet me at this place at this time or whatever. And one of the things that I saw in one of David's videos, like early on, was he said, invite a chick someplace. And that was game changing for me. When he said that right there, I was like, what? Just invite, like have a plan. And when I started having a plan and doing stuff like that, either inviting them along or telling them to meet me somewhere, I got yeses like that, because it just makes it easier for women. And then it blew up because all these women were like, yes, like why is it so hard for these guys to just have a plan and throw it out there? Because too many guys are like, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know. What do you want to do? And it's nonsense.
Well, yeah, man, it comes down to being intentional, right? Like you're like, all right, I'm going to take initiative here. I'm going to tell her what the plan is. I'm going to invite her out to it. I'm not going to spend, 5 hours or 3 days trying to text her. I'm just going to make this quick to the point and, have a little bit of banter and then just go for it. And either she's going to say yes, or I'm going to go say what's up to the next girl. It's not a big deal. Versus like trying to beat around the bush and just like have all this bullshit conversation. Just go for it, man. That's what it's about.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, too many people, and I'm sure they do it when they're talking to women like live, like when they're meeting women on the streets.
Then, man,
yeah, they're just like they're trying to build up so much rapport, and it's like, that's what the date's for, like
exactly. You need to leave shit to talk about on a date. Like, what are you doing, man? You're using all your ammo.
Yeah, definitely. And then going back to like having a plan, I wrote it down here too, where you talk about, especially at night. So this was in your meeting girls at night section, but knowing your logistics, right? Like where to take her at the end of the night. Do you need an Uber? Can you walk? Are you staying at your parents' house? Does that mean you have to take her back to her house? Like having a plan there as well is super important.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, like every time, I would go out, like I'd always think about those things exactly. Where am I staying? How far is this place from where I'm staying? Can I bring a girl back there? Do I have to bring her to her place? What's kind of going on? Because if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to lead a girl anywhere? You're not going to be able to figure it out. You're going to be just like creating on the fly. And sure, that can work sometimes, but it's a lot. And then maybe then you end up in the club bathroom, who knows, but it's a lot better to sort of figure it out again, intentionally, and say, all right, I know this is where I'm going. I know there's a pizza place like in the, halfway there, or like 5 minutes outside the bar. I'm going to take her to the pizza place and we're going to grab an Uber back to my spot. And that's kind of like the sort of the pull plan before you go out. And that way, exactly where you need to lead the girl to. So if you do hit it off with a girl, you can take her through those steps and do it as seamlessly as possible and give yourself the best chance.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Cause I used to, just like in your book, when I was floundering on the dating circuit, just like in your book where you're like, guys are like hoping to get lucky, and you're like, you don't have to get lucky if you have a plan.
It's not about getting lucky, man. Yeah. It's about like, I made this shit. I knew this was going to happen, man. You're getting lucky. Get out of here, man. Like I planned for this shit.
You jamoke. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but for most guys, they have to get lucky. They have to legitimately luck into it because they don't have this planned out at all. They don't even know how to lead a girl in the first place. And it's just like, they don't even know what they're juggling there. Like they have no idea what's going on. Again, this is probably like 95% of dudes.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree. And that's why they need to read this book for sure. It's a must read for guys. Um, Another thing too that I wrote down, I thought this was absolutely genius because I've been the guy that goes to a bar and I just sit there and I'm just looking around the bar going, just drinking my drink and I'm like, this sucks. I hate this fucking place. But but you're like, no, if you go into the bar, you chat with the bouncer, you start chatting with the bartender, you start cheersing people around you, that puts you into a social mood already. And you're building up that social momentum, as you call it in the book. And I was just like, that is a game changer right there.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, sort of like the currency of a nightclub, of a night out, is like how much social momentum do you have, right? If you don't have that much social momentum, you're gonna go up to a girl, you're gonna feel shitty, you're gonna get rejected. But if you've been talking to people throughout the night, you're gonna be feeling good, and you're gonna bring good energy into every conversation. So that if you're going up, you're cheering people, you're bringing good energy, and then you're sort of taking that energy and you're bringing it to the conversation with the girl. She's gonna feel good. Sort of like the whole mirror neuron type of thing, right? Like she's going to feel good because you're feeling good. And then even if that, you don't take that girl home, you're having good interactions. You're kind of stacking these good interactions. And that's how, sometimes I might be talking to a girl for a half hour or even an hour trying to like make the pull happen. And maybe it doesn't work out. And I say goodbye to her or whatever. And then I go to the next girl and I bring like all that same social momentum. And instead of getting butthurt, I bring that same energy and social momentum. And that's how sometimes I could bring a girl home in like 5-10 minutes because she's like, man, like where did this guy just come from? Like he's feeling the vibes. And yeah, so like that social momentum is a powerful thing if you can learn how to hone it.
Yeah. And when I was reading that part of the book, I was thinking of it not in the terms of dating, but just like how often in my life have I been in a situation where I just start talking to strangers and then, like I'll be at the supermarket. I'm not trying to hit on anybody, but maybe say something funny to somebody that I run into. And then I just sort of feel like a social mood and I just start joking with everybody. Like that's happened to me a ton of times. And I'm like, you know what? That absolutely could work in a bar situation or in a nightclub or a lounge or something. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, the momentum is key, man. Like it could, a microcosm of it could even be like when you're sitting on the couch, it feels like such a pain in the ass to get up and go like grab some water. But once you've already gotten up and grabbed some water, then it doesn't feel like such a pain to like go start, I don't know, making yourself some dinner or heating yourself up some, you know what I mean? Like once you're already up doing something, it makes it easier to do the next thing. Same thing with like business. Once you just start reaching out to some clients, potential clients, it makes it easier to keep doing it versus sitting in your head trying to theorize how it's all going to work. Just take that first step and then keep taking steps. You build that momentum, the snowball keeps rolling.
Yeah. Objects in motion tend to stay in motion, right?
Yeah, man. Can't stop the energy.
One thing too that I really thought was great in your book, which is something I didn't learn myself until I think it was probably last year. But you talk about this idea of building your social circle, and you say that a lot of us, and I was absolutely like this. We have what you called forced friends. So we have to be friends with these people because like we grew up with them on the block. We went to school with them. We work with them. Like we were thrust into a situation where we have some commonality. So we become friends with these people. But, sometimes those don't last because we move away or we change jobs or we graduate from school and go our separate ways, different, states or, different parts in the state. So it's important for someone that wants to be or have the high value lifestyle to be able to build friends organically. And you give lots of different methods in the book. And one of them you talk about is like, pick up sports games and stuff like that. Last year, I ended up joining a local runners club because I like running. And I was out jogging one day in the middle of like nowhere, and this guy rolls up in a truck with a business card just hanging out the window. And I'm like, what is going on here? And he's like, hey, my wife and I see you running every day. You should join our local runners club. And I was like, yes. And I joined that. And now I have this whole other social circle that I'm a part of that never would have happened if I, wasn't out running one day.
No, see, like you, like even going out running, that's like a little bit of momentum, and then like they see you running and boom, there's an opportunity that happens, right? Like for us, it was I guess the first thing I would say too is those forced friends a lot of times aren't going to be like the most quality people, right? Like they're not going to be people that are necessarily thinking outside the box. who are doing big shit with their life. Sometimes they are, but a lot of times it's just going to be like dudes from the neighborhood who are thinking small, right? So if you really want to connect with higher quality people, you have to be intentional about how you do it and put yourself in those situations. And what we realized too was that football is actually a really good way to do that. So like we played football down here in Mexico City, and we started playing, like me and two of my buddies, we committed to playing like every Saturday, and we're just going to start posting in groups, just like telling people we meet, you know what I mean? Like to come out to the game, and we're going to try to keep building it. And like, I'd have random dudes who like recognize me from YouTube who come up, and I'd be like, yo, there's a football game this Saturday, man. Like come through and play. And then we started growing it that way. I posted on Facebook groups, started growing it that way. And now we have like 10, 15 dudes, and they're all dudes that are like they're cool dudes. Like they're athletic. They enjoy going out and playing and in competition. But then they also enjoy, like fitness, and a lot of them are in the online business as well. So it's just like it's been this really awesome way to meet new people. And we're all going like camping in a couple of weeks. It's been great. But it all started with, just creating that momentum in terms of the football sport, and then just inviting people out, taking a lead on it, and continuing, committing to it and pushing to it. Funny enough, bro, we actually met like the NFL of Mexico.
Uh-huh.
We met these guys last week at the field, but they had the field closed because of COVID, but they're opening it back up next week. So we ended up playing basketball with these guys, big ass Mexican dudes. We beat them best 2 out of 3, and now we're playing football with them next week. So these guys play like professional, like tackle football here.
You guys beat a bunch of pros?
We beat the pros. They're like football pros. So we're gonna play them in football next week and see how good we actually are. That's gonna be fun.
Wow. That sounds awesome.
That's even an example of like connecting with more dudes. Like now we're connected with the professional Mexican football team just because we were out playing one day, right?
Yeah. No, that's a really awesome
It just
story.
keeps building. It's exponential.
It's amazing too. Yeah, because especially with my local runners club, we get like new people in and out all the time. So, and they're all different walks of life, business owners, various things. So like I'm connecting with all these different people that I never would have connected with before. And it's just, I don't think people realize the value of, outside of dating, like just meeting new people in general is so powerful. The idea of networking, it's huge.
No, it's awesome, man, dude. Like one of the guys we play with he's been doing TikTok. Like he does a lot of like TikTok ads and stuff. And he was telling me about it, and I was like, but maybe I should. And I'd been like starting to hear whispers of TikTok from like different podcasts I was listening to and stuff. And I was like, maybe I should just start doing this. Why not? Like I'll fuck around out there for a little bit and see what happens. And now it's starting to grow. I'm having fun with it. So yeah, there's another example of just like connecting with good people and seeing cool stuff happen. And without that, we wouldn't be on this podcast right now too.
Right.
So.
Yeah. In fact, it was weird because I'm one of those people. I don't know if you are you familiar with like The Secret or like, the law of attraction or anything like that?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're like, so some people are out on it. That's fine. But like, I definitely believe in it. And all of a sudden one day I got this idea of someone tagged me in a TikTok video. This is how you and I got connected. Someone tagged me in a TikTok video where someone said, hey, tag a creator that like inspires you and, you learn a lot from and whatever. And so someone tagged me in that, and I was like, I wonder if there's anybody that I could tag, and sort of pay it forward. And then I noticed that you had it like your channel had just started, and I go, I want to tag Dave just because like I talk about you and your confirm method all the time, because so in the book, How to Be a 3% Man, he talks about never confirming. He says it comes across as needy. And I'm like, that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
That's probably where all those users are coming from who are like, oh, it's such a sit move to confirm. Like, bro, yeah. I've confirmed thousands of days. I've never like,
yeah, no,
it's fine, man.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to waste my time.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I'm someone that confirms. I definitely I'll confirm the night before, and then, like maybe a quick little something the next day. And it's all because you said to do that. And I was like, this is great. And then I've never been stood up ever since I've done that. I'm like, why? It's not a bitch move. Like,
man, if you're a high quality dude, you can't just be I can't be showing up at a bar if I don't know the girl's gonna be there, especially in places like South America, Latin American shit. These girls are flaky as hell out here. So back in the day, you almost have to confirm like 4 times with those girls. You gotta confirm like 20 minutes before too, because they're like, oh, my grandpa's sick. It's like, fuck again, man. Like, these girls are so flaky out here. But yeah, the confirming method, it works. There's a reason why, me and Beast have done it for years. And, between me and him, for sure, we've done it on thousands of dates. And it's just, like, why not? Why not do it? Like, I don't really see the downside in it.
Yeah. And a lot of my dates are an hour away because I live in a small town. So like the big cities, there's 2 bigger cities that I'm basically smack dab in between. So I'm either going to dates usually in one of those 2 areas, and I'm not going to drive 2 hours round trip to be stood up. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, man, you can't be doing that shit for sure. Like you got to make sure that's confirmed.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting back to like the lifestyle stuff, obviously you started working on freelance stuff. You're doing, coaching business. You have your YouTube channel. You have all these different streams of revenue, but you also, mentioned in the book too, that if you have a 9-to-5 job, there are ways of enhancing your lifestyle a little bit, which I never really thought about it before, but that's exactly what I did. So in 2013, I asked my company if I could work remotely and move to a different state. So the company I work for, that shall not be named, is in California. But I asked them if I could move back to Colorado because I wanted to be closer to family and stuff like that, have a little more freedom. And I've been doing that ever since. Now that COVID happened, like everyone works remotely, but I have so much flexibility in my day-to-day life. Like, if I want to go work out in the middle of the day, I can go do that. If I want to, step away for a little bit, I tell the guys that report to me, hey, watch out for alerts. I'm going to take off for a while, and no one cares. And I have a lot more flexibility that way. Like, are there other things that you would suggest so that people have more flexibility in their careers?
Yeah, no. Yeah. So I know a lot of guys like to rail against like the 9-to-5 jobs, but I think, and I used to be one of those guys too. But then I think that there are a lot of ways to do it in terms of like it is a lot of guys making 9-to-5s do have a good salary. So for example, one way is you can try to save like 40 to 50% of your income and invest that. Put that in the real estate, put that in the stocks. Put it into whatever assets you think might be appreciating or are going to generate you cash flow. And that's sort of, for example, there's a guy called Mr. Money Mustache. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy, but he retired on an engineering salary after by the time he was 30, right? And he did that by basically just saving most of his income and, creating a nest egg of like $1 million by the time he was 30, just from that salary, and just saving, I don't know, like 75, 80% of it per year, and, investing it and making it work. And then he could live off of like 7 or live off like 4% of that per year. And you're financially free at that point, right? You might have to do that by 30, but maybe by like 35, it's doable for a lot of people, a lot more doable than you might think. And then as well as negotiating a remote work agreement is huge. Like you did. It's more possible now than ever since COVID. If you're not at least trying to do that, you're missing out. Like I would highly suggest everyone with a 9-to-5, like try to do that, because it's going to give you so much more freedom to where you can work on other stuff. It makes it easier to build a side hustle, but then also you don't have to commuting back and forth to work. Maybe that takes an hour of your day or longer. And that's just wasted time that you could be doing, building a side hustle. You could be going on dates, enjoying life. It's taking away your freedom. So if you can get that back, that's huge.
Yeah, definitely. You could be recording a podcast with Dave Perrotta of YouTube fame.
Exactly.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I'm a little over halfway through this book. I was trying to cram it in before we had this discussion. But you also, so you talk about, building online stores. I know David from How to Beast, he has his clothing line and stuff like that. Like what kind of those types of ideas would you recommend guys maybe start looking into as possible side hustles?
As possible side hustle, so like an online store is definitely one. But one of the things I talk about in the book is how like skills sort of stack on top of each other, right? So like learning certain skills makes everything easier. So for example, learning copywriting makes it easier to do like affiliate marketing, which makes it also, both of those make it easier to do like your own e-commerce store, because not only do you know how to like write better descriptions and market your store and market your products, but you also know how to market products in general because you've been doing it with affiliate marketing, right? And that's also going to help you with like SEO and search engine optimization. So like a lot of these, like I put them in the order that I did in the book because that's sort of the way that they kind of stack up. And you don't necessarily need to learn copywriting or SEO or whatever, but even just like having a general knowledge and like a few of those different skills makes it a lot easier for you to build a side hustle, whatever that may be.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it could be copywriting, it could be, you know, search engine optimization, build an online store. It could be coding. You know, it could even be, it could be like drop shit. There's so many different things you could do. And yeah, I have like 10 of it. It could be even real estate, you know, going out there, being a realtor, or even just investing in property like I'm starting to do. So tons of different ways.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I was talking to my kids about last year, especially like when the lockdown happened, there were so many people, especially around my area, because like I said, I live in a small town. There's a lot of people that the jobs that they have can't be sustained in some type of lockdown. Nobody thinks about that. And I mean, at least they didn't until the lockdown happened. And so I told my kids, I was like, you guys need to figure out a skill that is that you can use if everything shuts down like this. You know, you have to have like some kind of you know, like for me, like I work in IT. I could literally go door to door and fix people's computers if I have to. You know, I wouldn't want to do that, but I mean that's a skill. You know, like if you have some kind of marketable skill that you could immediately turn into your own business, like that's something that everyone should look into, I think.
No, it's a game changer, man. I think everybody should have some sort of side hustle or monetizable skill in 2021. I don't even think it's like a choice anymore. Like we've seen what's going on with COVID in you know 2020. Things are getting crazy. What you think might be a secure job might not be such a secure job. So you always need to have that backup. You need to have sources of cash flow. You need to have different ways to make money. Because if you're just sitting there, for example, you know, maybe as like, I don't know, like an accountant or something, and you don't have anything else. An accountant might be a bad example because you can probably you can turn that into your own side hustle, right? But whatever, like, you know, administrator job, like whatever random like corporate job you can pick out. If you don't have another skill on top of that, like you're going to be in trouble. So you need to start learning this shit now. And it's going to secure your future. And it's going to, not only that, but it's going to give you more freedom in the short term too, and make it easier to save money. You're making an extra 2K a month. It's way easier to save money than just using your regular salary.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we're almost coming up on an hour here. So I imagine the last parts of your book is all about making your money work for you and stuff like that. We already talked a little bit about investing. Is there anything you want to touch on there?
Well, what I would even, the official last part is like travel, right? And that's something I've learned a lot about, which is like basically like how to travel the right way. Whether you're traveling somewhere throughout the US or traveling the world, there's certain things that you want to make sure you have, and certain things that you want to make sure that you do, right? And kind of account for. So for example, like obviously you need like the passport and stuff, but even like, you know, a credit card that gives you travel points. That's an easy way to stack up, get free travel. That's been a way that I've, you know, taken flights to Asia for like first class and business class, which has been awesome. And taking a bunch of free economy flights because like I used money that I would already be spending anyway, put that on a credit card, pay that credit card off at the end of each month, but then I collect the points and I collect the bonuses. So I'm getting hundreds of thousands of credit card bonus points and just like tons of free flights. I can go wherever I want. Not too helpful during COVID, but during usual times, it's very nice, right? But in terms of traveling, it's something you also want to be intentional about. Whether you're moving to a different city in the US or moving to a different city in the world, like you want to be intentional about, all right, what types of girls are there? What's the nightlife like? What is the lifestyle? What's the culture? You want to keep all these things in mind and see like what might be a good fit for you. And one thing I classify is like there's fun places and then there's like home-based places. Like for me, Mexico City, it's like it's a lot of fun, but it's my home base, right? And maybe a place like Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, is a fun place. Maybe a place like Miami is a fun place. It could also be a home base. It depends on like what you're looking for, but it's important to kind of figure out what your home bases are, what your fun places are, and figure out how you want to sort of travel around. But I do think traveling is a key part sort of going into this next decade. I think that the guys who can move around and be flexible are going to have the most power and the most sort of access to opportunities.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you just one last question that I think we can wrap up here. What's the best country you've ever been to? Like, what's the coolest place you've ever been?
I mean, I like Mexico a lot, man. Like, there's a lot of pluses to Mexico in terms of just like, there's so much freedom here. You can pretty much do whatever you want. You can talk yourself pretty much out of any situation. You can bribe people if you need to, for example, we would bribe people to get us to play, let us play football, like to just use fields and shit. Right. There's so many different things, but the girls are awesome. And, the girls are sexy, but they're also very relatable. Like they know American culture. It's easy to talk about it. They have similar senses of humor. The food is great. It's super cheap. Like there's a lot of good things about Mexico. But in terms of like other places, aside from this, I would say, I really enjoyed Germany. Really, I like Southeast Asia too, man. Like Bangkok is awesome. Vietnam is a lot of fun. Taiwan, if I had to live in any Asian city, it would probably be like Taipei. Taipei was really, really amazing. And Ukraine is cool too, man. There's so many cool places to go though. I still haven't been to Brazil, Argentina. There's so many places I still want to go and check out. The world's a fun place, man. I
guess you have to wait for all these lockdowns to go away. I have a friend in Chile who he said that it's so locked down there. It's absurd. He's basically like relegated to his apartment.
Dude, it's crazy. Yeah, I had a few friends get like trapped in Argentina for a while, and they just like the lockdowns there were extreme. Like the lockdowns were never that bad in Mexico. Like I was always walking around the park doing my thing. Like people tell me to put a mask on. I say, I don't give a fuck. Like I walk around, I do my fucking thing. Nobody bothers me. You know what I'm saying? I like it. I like living like that. And that's another thing during COVID. Like you want to find places that aren't so locked down, so you can live your life and you don't have to be like a hermit crab in your house under quarantine. There's ways around shit like that, right? But when you have that power to travel, you can go to a place like Mexico. You can go to a place like Brazil. You know what I mean? The places that are open, that are letting people in. You don't have to just stay locked down in like, I don't know, California or something.
Right. Yeah. You guys can come to Delta, Colorado. We're just living our best lives out here. Nobody wears a mask out here.
There you go.
All right. So the book is The Lifestyle Blueprint by Dave Perrotta. It's an awesome read. You can catch Dave on YouTube and on TikTok. Where else can we find you, Dave?
YouTube and TikTok are the main things. I'm starting to mess around with Instagram Reels too. So I have the same handle everywhere. Just search Dave Perrotta. Dave Perrotta, you'll be able to find me. 2 R's, 2 T's. I spelled that wrong everywhere. So, but yeah, that's where you can find me. Obviously, check out The Lifestyle Blueprint as well. I think it's the best book that I've written, and some great ideas in there that I think will help any guy to craft an awesome lifestyle for themselves.
Awesome, Dave. I'll definitely put links to these in the show notes. I really appreciate you coming on, man. It really means a lot. Man. All right, cool, dude. Well, we'll catch you later.
Sounds good, man.
Dave, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me on the podcast today. Like I said, it was a tremendous honor having you come on. I've been following you for a long time, which we talked about. So, I'm a little bit of a fanboy right now. But I own it. I own that shit. You, for a young guy, have done so much. And you should be commended for that. And I wish I would have learned all these things that you're teaching men to do, man, back when I was getting out of high school. Cause I probably would have had a little bit of a different trajectory, I think, but I think I'm doing okay now. But it took me a long time to get here. And, for you young bucks out there that are listening, read this book because it could change your life, and you could definitely find your way on the fast track to living the lifestyle that you want. So Dave, hopefully you can come back on. I'd love to have you. You have an open invitation. If you ever have anything to promote, hit me up. You know where to find me. Other than that, everybody else, we'll see you guys on Monday.
Thank you for listening to Come On Man. If you're new to the podcast, I highly recommend reading How to Be a 3% Man by Corey Wayne at least 10 to 15 times. I recommend you watch his coaching videos on YouTube, and I recommend that you engage with other 3% men in our 3% Man Facebook group. Links to all of these are in the show notes. If you like this episode, please give us a good rating on your podcast platform of choice. and share with all of your bros. Now go out and get it.